The knock on the door came in broad daylight, sharp and hesitant, the kind that carries fear in its echo. It was late morning, sunlight spilling across the porch like spilled gold, and yet something about that sound made the air feel heavy, as if the day itself had paused to listen. When the door opened, fate stepped inside quietly, carrying a past that refused to stay buried and a future that neither of us could yet imagine. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of simple human compassion, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Bright Acts. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may be waiting for a reason to keep believing. My name is Arav Malhotra, and for years I had lived with a kind of silence that only debt and loss can create. My father, Raghunath Malhotra, had been a man of promises. He promised stability, honesty, and a future where hard work always paid off. But life had other plans. A business deal gone wrong, a borrowed sum meant to save the family workshop, and a sudden illness had turned those promises into unpaid numbers written in red ink. When he passed away, the debt did not die with him. It lingered, breathing down my neck, reminding me daily that inheritance is not always wealth. Sometimes it is responsibility. I had chosen a quieter life after that. I restored old furniture in a small workshop attached to my house, working only in daylight hours, letting the sun guide my routine. There was comfort in sanding rough edges smooth, in watching broken things become useful again. It felt like an apology to the past. Most days were predictable. The hum of tools, the smell of wood, the rhythm of hands busy enough to keep the mind from wandering too far into regret. That morning was supposed to be like any other. But when I saw her standing there, everything shifted. She was young, no more than her early 20s, with tired eyes that looked older than the rest of her. Her name, I would later learn, was Meher Qureshi. She stood straight despite the weight she carried, dressed simply, her hands folded as if holding herself together. The sun outlined her figure, but it could not soften the seriousness on her face. She had come for one reason only, and it showed in every careful breath she took. She explained, without embellishment, that her father had borrowed money from mine years ago. The debt had passed hands, changed terms, grown heavier with time. Her father had fallen ill, unable to work, and she had taken it upon herself to face the past head-on. She had come to repay what she could, coin by coin if necessary, even if it meant years of sacrifice. There was no shame in her posture, only resolve. Listening to her, something inside me cracked open. I saw my father in her determination, the same stubborn belief that dignity comes from responsibility, not comfort. The amount she offered was small, almost symbolic compared to the debt recorded in my worn ledger. But the gesture carried more weight than money ever could. Instead of sending her away, instead of clinging to bitterness, I surprised myself. I told her she could stay. Not as charity, not as obligation, but as a chance. A place to live, work to do, daylight hours filled with purpose. The words felt risky even as they left my mind, but they also felt right, like aligning a crooked picture frame. Meher moved into the small spare room overlooking the courtyard, where morning light poured in freely. From the very first day, she worked with quiet determination. She helped clean the workshop, organize tools, learned the careful patience required to restore old furniture without erasing its history. She never complained. She never asked for more than what was offered. Every day, she woke early, greeting the sun as if it were a promise she intended to keep. As weeks passed, the house changed. Not dramatically, but in ways that mattered. Meals became shared moments instead of rushed necessities. The silence grew softer, less lonely. Meher spoke little about her past, but her actions told enough. She sent money home regularly, kept careful notes of what she earned, and treated every task as if it mattered deeply. In her presence, the weight of my father's debt felt different. It no longer felt like a chain but like a bridge connecting two unfinished stories. There were challenges, of course. Whispers in the neighborhood questioned intentions. Some assumed generosity hid weakness, others suspected motives. Old paperwork surfaced, complicating matters, reminding me that kindness does not erase legal obligations overnight. There were days when the ledger mocked me, when numbers refused to shrink as quickly as hope wanted them to. There were moments when Meher's exhaustion showed, when her hands trembled slightly as she worked, and I wondered if I had asked too much by allowing her to carry so much responsibility. But daylight has a way of revealing truth. Over time, trust grew not from words but from consistency. Customers noticed the care put into each restored piece. Business improved slowly, honestly. Meher's attention to detail brought new life into the workshop. She suggested small changes, smarter use of time, better organization. I realized she was not just repaying a debt, she was investing in a future she believed in. One afternoon, while sunlight filtered through dust motes in the air, I found an old chair my father had tried to restore years ago but never finished. The wood was scarred, the joints loose, the seat uneven. Meher approached it with reverence, as if understanding its significance without explanation. Together, in silence, we worked on it over several days. Sanding, repairing, strengthening. When it was finally complete, it stood sturdy and dignified, imperfections honored rather than erased. It felt symbolic, like healing done slowly but honestly. The debt, eventually, was settled in a way no contract could fully describe. Part through payments, part through shared labor, and part through understanding. I chose to forgive what numbers could not justify holding on to. Not because I was wealthy enough to ignore it, but because I had learned that holding on to resentment costs more than letting go. Meher wept quietly when she realized what that forgiveness meant, not just financially, but emotionally. It gave her back something priceless, relief. By then, she was no longer a guest. She had become family in the truest sense, bound not by blood but by choice and shared resilience. She enrolled in daytime classes nearby, balancing study with work, determined to build a life beyond survival. Watching her grow confident, watching laughter return to her eyes, was a reminder that people flourish when given space to breathe. As the seasons shifted but the days remained bright, I understood something my father never had time to teach me. Debt can be measured in money, but redemption is measured in humanity. By opening my door that morning, I had unknowingly opened a path toward healing my own grief. The house felt warmer, the workshop fuller, my heart lighter. Stories like this are not about grand gestures. They are about ordinary choices made in daylight, when fear is visible and courage must be deliberate. They are about seeing someone not as a burden, but as a person standing at the edge of hope, waiting for permission to step forward. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change lives in ways we never expect, please take a moment now to like the video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and stay connected with bright acts. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive. And before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with a single word that represents what this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. In the end, when I think back to that knock on the door, I no longer hear fear in it. I hear courage. I hear a young woman choosing responsibility over escape, and a man choosing empathy over bitterness. In the bright honesty of daytime, two lives crossed paths and quietly rewrote what debt, forgiveness, and family could mean. And sometimes, that is enough to change everything.